During the Victorian era in England, the population was growing immensely. Children under the age of 15 made up one-third of Queen Victoria's subjects. Because of the large population inflation, England's workforce was in need of cheap workers, and as a solution for the problem, children began working at a young age. The jobs children from poor families worked were often brutal and dangerous. Boys would commonly work in textile mills or coal mines, and girls were put to work as domestic servants or nurses. The government's laissez-faire policy forced families to fend for themselves, so having children who worked brought in necessary money for survival. Of course, if children were working, they were not in school. In 1851, one-third of all children received absolutely no education. Before the Elementary Education Act in 1970, the children who received education were mainly from wealthy families. It cost families between 1 to 9 pence per child per week, and school classrooms were small and warmed by a single fire or stove. In these schools, children would learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. Another option for wealthy families was to hire a tutor. Tutors would work with students at home and teach them lessons privately. Writers such as Charles Dickens acted as activists for the lives of children in the Victorian era. A Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist both highlight how brutal life was for children in the working class by demonstrating the difficulty that families had obtaining money and the consequences that children suffered as a result. Luckily, in the 1870s, life for children began to improve with the passing of the Elementary Education Act. This act created a national network of primary schools, and by the end of the century, 90% of children went to school for at least 7 to 8 years. Also, books, magazines, toys, and games aimed at children began to be produced.